Hey everybody, today is 11/19/2024 and I'm doing this video real quick. Russia is saying Ukraine has attacked it using a US long-range missile and it is signaling it is ready for a nuclear response. Moscow signaled to the West it's ready for a nuclear confrontation after Ukraine was given permission to attack Russian territory and appeared to quickly act on that green light using US-made long-range missiles. Kiev appeared to waste little time after reportedly being given the go-ahead by Washington Sunday to use US-made ATACMS missiles against specific targets. Ukrainian news outlets reported early Tuesday that the missiles had been used to attack a Russian military facility in Bryansk's border region. So let's look and see where this is. And this is in Russia. So let's look up this area over here. So this is the area that we're talking about. Russia then confirmed the attack with the Ministry of Defense, stating that Ukrainian forces had struck a facility in the Bryansk region using 6 ballistic American-made ATACMS missiles. The ministry claimed air defense missile systems had shot down 5 of the missiles and damaged another. Its fragments fell on technical territory of military facilities in the Bryansk region, causing a fire that was quickly extinguished. There was no casualties or damage. Um, Reports were unable to be independently verified, and Ukraine's leadership has yet to comment on the attack. The Kiev Post news outlet cited a national security official as confirming the strike in Bryansk has been carried out, although he did not indicate which weapons had been used. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov responded to the attack, accusing the West of wanting to escalate the conflict. The fact that the ATACMS were used repeatedly tonight in Bryansk region is, of course, a signal that they in the West want to escalate, and without the Americans, it is impossible to use these high-tech missiles, Lavrov said at a press conference of the G20 summit, according to comments reported by TASS and translated by Google. The Kremlin has repeatedly warned the West against allowing Ukraine to use its long-range weapons to attack Russia directly. Moscow upped the ante Tuesday as Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree approving its updated nuclear doctrine, shifting the parameters on when Russia can use nuclear weapons. The updated document outlining the conditions in which Russia can use nuclear weapons now states that any aggression against Russia by a non-nuclear state, if it's supported by a nuclear power, will be considered as a joint attack. The doctrine also stated that Russia may use nuclear weapons in an event of a critical threat to its sovereignty and territorial integrity and that of its ally Belarus, and that the launch of ballistic missiles against Russia would be seen among the conditions that could warrant a response using nuclear weapons. The Kremlin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov was asked on Tuesday whether Russia would consider the use of American non-nuclear missiles by the Ukrainian military as an attack by a non-nuclear state with the support of nuclear state. And he said you will be able to read the paragraphs yourself, but in general, it also states that the Russian Federation reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in the event of aggression with the use of conventional weapons against it or the Republic of Belarus, which creates a critical threat to sovereignty or territorial integrity, Peskov told reporters. Aggression against the Russian Federation by any non-nuclear state with the participation or support of a nuclear state is considered a joint attack. Um, I was reading through this and I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that North Korea was brought into it. And what about all the missiles from Russia that are being fired into Kiev, which is way across the border? Okay, you got to be playing fair on both sides. I mean, no, Russia's using missiles that aren't even made in its own country against Ukraine. So they've got to be playing fair on both sides. They can't expect to have their cake and eat it too. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but I just been thinking about that. I mean, if you're going to have a war, you got to play fair, but you can't expect to be throwing nuclear missiles into the bunch. Okay, so heightened tensions between Russia and Ukraine and its allies in the West come as Russian forces are seen to be making considerable gains in the eastern Ukraine, looking to seize as much territory as possible before President-elect Donald Trump takes office in January. It is widely expected that Trump will push Moscow and Kiev into peace talks that will be favorable to Russia, forcing Ukraine to concede occupied land to its neighbor as a price for peace. Trump has already signaled that U.S. military aid for Ukraine will end when he returns to office, and some Republican officials are reportedly unhappy at the Biden administration for giving Ukraine permission to use ATACMS. There are also doubts that the limited number of ATACMS Ukraine is believed to have been given by U.S. will be enough to change the dial in the war, which reached its 1,000 mark on Tuesday. The impacts may be more political, albeit with a narrowing window of opportunity, Matthew Savelle, the military sciences director at the Royal United Services Institute defense think tank, said in comments Monday. The Ukrainians need to convince the incoming U.S. administration that they are still worth backing, in President Trump's transactional view, a good investment, and they will want to convince him to link his and U.S. credibility to a winning outcome, not a major compromise that sees the U.S. lose. However, the signs are not positive on this front, with criticism overnight from amongst the Trump campaign of what they may see as a Biden attempt to tie Trump's hands. Moreover, it is unlikely that the Ukrainians can have any major impact in such a short period of time until the next administration is firmly in place, and with that uncertain but probably small stockpile of ATACMS, he said. In the meantime, the immediate question for defense and geopolitical analysis is how Russia assesses Ukraine's attack against its territory using U.S. weapons and whether it will react within the confines of its updated nuclear doctrine. Throughout the war, Russia has warned it is prepared to use its nuclear weapons if under attack, but analysts say Moscow would be hesitant to go head to head against the combined might of Western military alliance NATO and its nuclear powers within the bloc. Global markets are taking the threat seriously, at least with stocks declining and investors fleeing to safe haven assets on Tuesday. Although some close followers of Russia's leadership believe threats issued by the Kremlin are just another instance of saber rattling, Putin is bluffing again. Timothy Ash, emerging market strategist at Blu-ray Assets Management, said in an email comments Tuesday. Putin's bluff was and has been constantly been called. Putin was terrified of getting into conventional war with NATO, which he would likely lose in weeks. Ash said Russia was now more likely to respond with asymmetric warfare. With the attack this week on an undersea cable between Germany and Scandinavia fitting this narrative, Russia has not commented on the attack and has denied previous attacks on subsea energy infrastructure in Europe. We should expect more of the same, but particularly targeted at Europe, not the U.S., Ash said, adding, Putin, exploits weakness. He now sees that with the new Trump administration in the U.S. Trump should not be pulled in by Putin's games. Trump should call Putin's bluff. Bomb shelters. Whether the Kremlin is bluffing or not, there are signs that the Russian leadership takes the threat of nuclear confrontation seriously, or at least wants to show the Russian public that it is ready for such eventuality. Russia's state-run Civil Defense and Emergencies Research Institute, a part of Russia's emergency ministry, said on Monday mobile bomb shelters it had developed had gone into mass production for the first time in history. So they're getting ready for something. The shelters, called Cub-M units, look like shipping containers and provide 48-hour protection for people from various threats, including natural disasters and man-made accidents, including air shock wave and light radiation of a nuclear explosion, penetrating radiation and radioactive contamination of the area, the Institute said Monday. The units can protect from hazardous chemicals, fires, and conventional weapons the research institute said, adding that the key advantage of its Cub M units was their mobility. Each container can shelter 54 people, it added, with an additional capacity possible if more modules are fitted. Let me see if I can look this up. Cub M units. Curiosity what they look like. If there's any images. I don't see what they look like. Oh, here's what they look like. Okay, so this is what they look like. So that's a Cub M. This is what they look like. This is a Cub M unit. Okay, so they look like shipping containers and provide 48-hour protection. Um, the units can protect from hazardous chemicals, fires, and conventional weapons. The research said, adding that the key advantage of the Cub M is mostly their mobility. Each container can shelter 54 people. The institute did not link the account to developments regarding the ATACMS missiles or the approval of Russia's updated nuclear doctrine. The timing of the announcement is not seen to be coincidental, however, acting as another warning to the West that Russia is serious when it warns of a possible nuclear confrontation and is actively preparing for the possibility despite repeatedly stating it does not want a nuclear war with its adversaries. So let's hope that nothing happens because an hour ago, Ukraine used US provided long range missiles for the first time in Russia. And yeah, they should not. Um, Ukraine troops have launched an attack against Russian border region with 6 long-range missiles, Moscow has said. It comes after Vladimir Putin approved an updated doctrine lowering the threshold for use of the nuclear weapons. So that is something that we need to keep an eye on. Anyways, you guys, just thought I'd do a real quick video. I hope y'all are doing well today. I will be having a premiere in about 5.5 hours. So I hope to see you all on it. Much love, God bless, and I will see you guys later.